How's it going, everybody? My name is Lucky Buns. In today's video, I'm going to be going over Mega Rayquaza Raid Day, or Elite Raid Day. So, Mega Rayquaza is coming back to raids in Pokemon Go, and many players were excited to finally see this Pokemon return to the game, until they found out that Niantic essentially pulled a bait and switch. So what was originally supposed to be announced as a Raid Day event was actually an Elite Raid Day event. For those of you who are unfamiliar, during March we had the typical Raid Day for both Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre. This event gave players 5 additional free raid passes along with an increased shiny rate of 1 out of 10. The remote raid limit was also increased to 20 for each of these events. Now on top of that, there were also event tickets which offered players 8 additional free raid passes, an increased chance to get more extra large candy, along with 50% more experience and 2 times Stardust from completing raid battles. So basically, to make things clear here, this is what a raid day is supposed to be like, and it's all around one of the best types of events we've had in Pokemon Go, regardless if you're free to play or pay to play. Now all things considered, players are absolutely valid to feel shafted from the bait and switch that Niantic pulled with Mega Rayquaza. For those of you guys who don't know, let me explain how Elite Raids work in Pokemon Go. These types of raids are in-person only, similar to Shadow Raids, which means that you can't actually invite players using remote raid passes. There's also going to be no additional free raid passes given out during the event, and there is no event ticket either for additional bonuses. The Elite Raid eggs appear 24 hours in advance in very specific locations. For those of you who remember the X-Raid system, they essentially use the same gyms, which means that players who don't have these specific gyms in their local area will have 0 Elite Raids featured during this event. The time windows are also going to be all over the place, ranging from 12 to 12:45, 1 to 1:45, 5 to 5:45, and 6 to 6:45, all in your local time zones. This is going to be opposed to the 3-hour time window for typical raid days, which are 2 to 5 p.m, and new raid bosses appear every single hour. Also, if you ended up buying the event ticket, you could get increased raid hours, which would actually range from 2 to 10 p.m. local time. So this was actually really appealing for many players who had to actually work during the day. So once again, players are rightfully upset to see Mega Rayquaza in Elite Raids, and for Niantic to act like this is actually the same as a raid day is just tone deaf. So with that being said, I would love to hear what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this Mega Rayquaza Elite Raid Day, and after we actually have the event, I would love it if you could actually come back to this video and let me know how things went. So now let's run through the event details for Mega Rayquaza. Even though this is going to be an Elite Raid Day, it's still something that I do strongly encourage you guys to participate in if possible, and I'm going to explain that throughout this video. Now with that being said, once again, these Elite Raid eggs are going to be spawning 24 hours in advance, so depending on where you guys live, you should have a good idea in terms of where your Mega Rayquaza is going to spawn and at what time. This should allow you to actually plan and coordinate with players in your local area once you actually know where these raids are going to be spawning. Now most Mega Pokemon in Pokemon Go do require Mega Energy to evolve, and that's pretty much it. But Rayquaza is actually the exception here, because not only does it require Mega Energy to evolve, but you're also going to need to get a Meteorite to teach a Dragon Ascent. When this event was originally announced, I was hoping that they would actually offer players a timed research in order to actually get one of these, and thankfully that ended up being the case. Now with that being said, I do want to advise you to only use your Meteorite on your best Rayquaza. If you don't actually have a good one, that I would recommend trying to lucky trade a few before investing this valuable resource. During last year's Pokemon Go Fest, I was able to get 2 Meteorites, and I ended up using one of them on my shiny lucky Rayquaza, which is a 96% IV with 14 attack. Now I know what you're thinking, why did I use my Meteorite on a Rayquaza with 14 attack? Well, at this point, I had already done like 4 lucky trades for shiny Rayquaza, and none of them were actually coming out good. I also had a 98% IV that was a normal, non-shiny with 15 attack, but I thought the shiny Mega Rayquaza just looked way cooler, so I decided to go with that one. And let me tell you right now, I do not regret it whatsoever. When Breaking Sword was actually relevant, I used this Pokemon all the time in the Master League, and regardless of it actually not having 15 attack, it was still super good. So with that being said, what is my recommendation in regards to actually investing a Meteorite into Rayquaza? So I would say anything that's like 90% IVs or higher, ideally with 15 attack, and if you end up getting the shiny, then that is for sure worth investing into, because you're just going to really enjoy using that Pokemon. It is without a doubt one of the coolest shinies in Pokemon Go. So that pretty much covers the Meteorite aspect of Mega Rayquaza, but what about the Mega Energy? How much do you actually need to Mega Evolve for the first time? So you need 400 Mega Energy to evolve your Mega Rayquaza for the first time, and normally, with the additional free raid passes we would have gotten from a typical raid day, this would have been enough for most players to get enough energy to actually Mega Evolve their Rayquaza. That being said though, because this Pokemon is going to be in Elite Raids, I'm not sure how players are going to get enough energy to actually Mega Evolve their Rayquaza for the first time. Unfortunately, Niantic has been very vague regarding all of this, so typical Mega Raids actually give you around 200 to 250 energy from actually beating them. But for the Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre raids, we only got 80 energy, and this is actually how it's been in the past as well. Even last year when we had Mega Rayquaza Elite raids, it was only 80 energy per raid. So there is a possibility that we might get more energy just because it is an Elite Raid day, but again, Niantic has not confirmed anything or even mentioned anything in the official blog post. So going into this event, I feel like this is really one aspect that Niantic has not talked about nearly enough, and I truly anticipate a lot of backlash as this ends up being the case. Now I also want to talk about this again as well, but the Elite Raid format pretty much prevents some players in certain areas from just not being able to get enough raids done to get enough energy. So this is really problematic, not to mention that you can't actually remote raid into these raid battles. I don't know what these players are going to do. There's a good chance that a lot of players aren't going to get enough energy to actually Mega Evolve the Rayquaza for the first time. I've actually gotten this comment a lot, like some people will say like, how can you actually say that Niantic wants to make a bunch of money when they're trying to promote all these tickets, and then at the same time, like it doesn't seem like they want to make a bunch of money when they do stuff like this. So ultimately this comes down to Niantic's vision for the game, which honestly contradicts itself so many times in Pokemon Go, because you have situations like this where a lot of players want to spend money on this, like they want to raid Rayquaza as much as possible. It is a really, really good Pokemon to get, and then at the same time, like they just make it so inconvenient for players to actually get this done, because you can only do this in person. And then at the same time, we have other events where the remote raid pass limit is increased and you can pretty much raid as much as you want. So for example, during Global Go Fest Day 2, the remote raid pass limit is actually increased to 20, which like, it doesn't really make sense because it goes against their vision there, but of course, like they want to make as much money as possible during that weekend. Although for some reason during Mega Rayquaza Elite Raid Day, like this is not the case. This is honestly so perplexing to me because on one side of it, it seems like Niantic has really been doubling down on more event tickets this year and just really trying to push players to spend as much money as possible. And then at the same time, they do stuff like this where it's just like, well, you're gonna lose a ton of money. It's like, do you not want to make money? Like, I don't understand. So yeah, once again, let me know your own thoughts in the comment section down below regarding all of this. Like, it's just so confusing to be honest. Next up, let's go over how good Mega Rayquaza is in Pokemon Go. So for those of you who don't know, this is going to be the best dragon and the best flying type attacker in the game, and it's really like the best flying type attacker in the game by a mile with Dragon Ascent. And when you have this Pokemon Mega Evolved, you're going to get candy bonuses when catching Pokemon that are Dragon, Flying, and Psychic types. So you can basically run Rayquaza in two different ways here, right? If you want to run it as a Dragon type attacker, the best moveset is going to be Dragon Tail plus Outrage. If you want to run it as a Flying type attacker, you want to ideally have Air Slash plus Dragon Ascent. Once again, you can only obtain Dragon Ascent from a Meteorite. So one strategy that I would recommend doing if you guys do end up giving your Rayquaza Dragon Ascent is to actually give it the second charge move and then just add Outrage. Now once you guys have actually done that, you can just alternate between the fast moves using regular TMs. I mean, that's what I pretty much do if I actually want to run my Rayquaza as a Dragon type or a Flying type. Although I do have Breaking Swipe on it and Outrage would be a little bit better, but again, like I have Breaking Swipe because that actually used to be meta relevant in PvP. In terms of actually giving your Rayquaza Breaking Swipe, I wouldn't really recommend it anymore because Breaking Swipe got nerfed a few seasons ago. Now there is actually one more really cool thing about using Mega Rayquaza in raid battles. So once again, I mentioned earlier that you're going to get candy bonuses on Dragon, Flying, and Psychic types, right? Well, you're also going to get a 10% damage boost to all Pokemon in raids when it is in your party. It doesn't even have to be actively on the field either. But if it is actively on the field and any of the surrounding Pokemon types are Dragon, Flying, or Psychics, you're also going to get a 30% damage boost to your teammates. I do want to clarify that this does not stack though, it just prioritizes the highest one. But for example, you didn't have Mega Rayquaza on the field, it was just in the back of your party. All of your Pokemon teammates would actually get a 10% damage boost, so that is a really cool feature that only Mega Rayquaza, Primal Groudon, and Primal Kyogre get. The other Mega Pokemon in-game get the 30% damage boost when they're on the field, but none of them actually get the 10% damage boost when it's just in your party. So again, really, really cool feature for Mega Rayquaza. Next up, let's go over the 100% IVs to look out for when you're actually raiding Rayquaza. So for the non-weather boosted Rayquaza, it's going to be 2191 CP. And then for the weather boosted Rayquaza, it's going to be 2739. Most of you probably won't remember what these CPs are going to be though, so a good way to actually remember is to go to your battle party and then just type in 2191/2739. We're going to be talking about counters here in just a second, but essentially this way you're going to always know going into the raid battle what that CP range is supposed to be. Whenever I'm going pretty hard on certain raid bosses, I always tend to use this trick. It really is helpful. Next up, let's go over the best counters for Mega Rayquaza. So it's pretty much just ice types for the most part, but again, like I do highly recommend building battle parties ahead of time, because for these elite raid bosses, they're really difficult to take down. And especially if you guys don't have that many players in your local area, like it's really crucial that you actually have the right counters going into this. Taking a look at the top counters here, we have Shadow Mamoswine with Powder Snow plus Avalanche, we have Mega Gardevoir with Charm plus Triple Axle. Although to be honest, if you're going to be doing these Mega Rayquaza raids, it would be recommended to actually have a Dragon type Mega active so that you can actually get some more extra large candy bonuses. Now for this raid day, you pretty much have to decide between using a Mega Pokemon that is going to be effective towards the raid boss or actually using a Mega Pokemon that's going going to help you get more candy and extra large candy. Now personally, I do prefer the latter, so if you guys want to know the best Mega type Pokemon to actually have active during Mega Rayquaza Raid Day, I'm going to go over those after this. So moving along here, we also have regular Mamoswine with Powder Snow plus Avalanche, we have Titan with Ice Shard plus Avalanche, we have Shadow Weavile with Ice Shard plus Avalanche. Now Shadow Weavile is a pretty glassy Pokemon. When we can see here that Mamoswine does actually tank the hits a little bit better, the Shadow variants are of course going to go down faster, but the DPS is going to be significantly better. So keep in mind, you definitely want to have a lot of potions and revives going into this raid day if you're not going to be having that many players in your local area. Now funnily enough, Mega Rayquaza is actually one of the top counters against a Mega Rayquaza, Dragon on Dragon, right? So if you guys have one from last year's Pokemon Go Fest, then definitely make sure to use it. You're going to get the extra large candy bonuses, and it's also going to be a really good counter to use against itself. You can also just leave it in the back of your party as well, because I mentioned earlier that you're going to be getting that 10% damage boost to all of your surrounding teammates, so that's going to be a really nice boost to have as well. Now following that, we have Glaceon with Ice Shard plus Avalanche, we have Baxcalibur with Ice Fang plus Avalanche, we have Shadow Mewtwo and regular Mewtwo with both Psycho Cut and Ice Beam, we have Galarian Darmanitan with Ice Fang plus Avalanche, and then on top of that we also have a few other counters, but those are pretty much going to be your top counters to focus on. Regardless if you don't have anything that I just mentioned, just use your best Ice type Pokemon. Now if you guys don't have any of the Pokemon I just mentioned, just use your best Ice type Pokemon that you have out there, because Mega Rayquaza is going to be double weak to Ice types. Now on top of that, I do also recommend partying up to get additional raid damage bonuses, so make sure to do that. Moving on, let's go over how to actually find a local elite raid. So using campfire is going to be the best way to actually host these types of events. Even if you guys don't actually see anybody else hosting, you can always host yourself. And once again, the eggs are going to appear 24 hours in advance, so you should have enough time to actually get enough players around you. Guarantee you're going to end up with at least some players, because this is a highly desired Pokemon. Now on top of that, I also recommend checking your local Facebook and Discord groups as well. Oftentimes people will end up having raid trains set up to actually hit multiple elite raids within a certain time window, which is really important for this kind of raid day. Now earlier on I mentioned that I would go over the best Mega type Pokemon to have active during this raid day, so you typically want to have, a Dragon type Mega active for those candy bonuses, so Pokemon like Charizard X, Ampharos, Sceptile, Altaria, Salamence, Latios, Rayquaza, or Garchomp are all going to be functional. Whichever one of these Mega Pokemon you have at Mega level 3, prioritize that one over the others for increased candy and extra large candy bonuses. And then on top of that, I also recommend using Silver Pineapple Berries if you guys want to farm as much candy as possible. I mean, if you've been saving them, this is going to be a great time to use them combined with that Mega level 3 candy boost. Anyways, that pretty much wraps things up for this video. If you guys want to check out some more content, watch these two videos right here. But before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.